What's going on, everybody? This is your boy, the Sports Doctor Spock, Mickey Coleman. And one night, just about a month or so ago, this young man, Alijah Arenas, um, was in a very, very scary situation. So let's hear some updates from his dad, Gilbert, about what happened that night. Take it away. This is from the All the Smoke podcast from Matt Barnes.
What's going on with Elijah right now?
He's doing good. Like that first, the first couple hours, it's like, damn, wait, what's going on? Because I'm up,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm up at 4:30 working out, and every time I wake up, I look on my app to see where he's at, because he has Cybertruck, so I can see exactly where he's at. What happens is he's usually at the gym, come home, sleeps for about an hour, then I got to wake him up and then take Align and his brother to school, right? So that's been the routine. So I'm looking, okay, he's at the gym, okay, cool. So working out. Then Hamadi called his sister. Is like, did you hear? Like, nah. Your son got in an accident. But at the gym? Like, no, he was driving home, got in a car accident. I'm like, no, his car is at the gym. And she's like, boy, he's at the hospital. We're heading there now. So I'm like, oh shit, okay. So because she's never up that early any goddamn way. So the fact that she's hitting me, I'm like, okay, maybe. So I just put my clothes on. I said, give me the address. Went straight there, and sure enough, I'm like, what the? So I go back to the car like,
Crazy ass commercials.
so once talk to the doctors, and they're like, this is what happened. So me, I'm checking anything broke. The first thing is anything broken, right? Head. It was like so far it doesn't look like anything is physically from the outside structurally wrong. We don't think he hit his head. A couple scratches on him, right? And I'm thinking, okay, maybe he got pulled out, rolling on the ground. And it was like, yeah, smoke, in his lungs. So I'm like, okay, all right. It could have been worse.
Absolutely.
So from there, it's like, all right, what's going on? There's nothing I can do now, because now I need to check the scene. Where's the scene? Who helped him and get out of the car? So now I'm doing all of that. Went to go see. His car's not there, so I went to the address, and seeing this, knocked on the people's door, put a note on there, just trying to fill in all the pieces of what happened, why I didn't get alerted. But, long story short is, the car, malfunctioned on them. The steering wheel went limp and, ran right into a tree. But, like, once he got his personality back, which is once they took the drugs out of him, right? Our jokes came back, and like, man, boy, you almost went extra crispy on me, man. Right? You almost went extra.
It kind of puts things in perspective. The car all of a sudden malfunctioning, and Elijah is one of the top high school basketball players in America, and they seem to have a pretty close-knit family, as you will hear a little bit more in this video. I'm glad the young man is, as they say, is okay, because he was in a coma. They don't really talk about it in this video, but the young man was in a coma. So,
Extra crispy, dog.
Because you said that, so those windows are bulletproof. He couldn't break the window.
He couldn't break the window. And
So he was stuck in a car that was on fire.
yeah, and I had to, I have his phone. I had his phone, got his phone. So I seen that, when people are like, oh, he fell asleep. I'm looking at, he's on the phone, right? He's on the phone with 911. I'm trying to get that call. He was on the phone with them for 10 minutes. So I know he was at least in the car for 10 minutes, right? And, it's, once he started, talking and, doing all that, just realized he couldn't break the window, start doing all the back search on the car. And, it's, if you're a parent and your teen has this car, you might want to put a hammer in that joint.
what car is it?
Something that can break the window, because physically,
We gotta find out what car
he
it
said
is.
he was trying to kick the door, the window, and he couldn't. And I said, you.
I know he's got
told
like
him, I
a-
said, man, I'm gonna just be honest with you, because when he got
A
home,
Porsche truck
we
for
had
his
flowers,
daughter.
had flowers for him, and I gave him that speech. I said, listen, you're a lucky one to see this.
Shit, hell yeah.
Most people don't get to see the flowers and how everybody reacts when you know something happens. So you get to witness what the world did when you was you know asleep, when you was in.
That's a good point. As much as it's messed up, he is very lucky that he hit a tree head on and survived, first of all. And the fact that he didn't die of smoke inhalation because he couldn't get out of the car because the car was on fire. He could have passed away right then, just too much smoke on his lungs. But let's keep on.
It was an induced coma. So, you know, this is what's supposed to make you great. That you watch life.
They did say he was in a
just
coma.
ended, right? You can't take this shit for granted.
Hell
Everything I be telling them, like I told him, I said, man, like you know me, it's with little things, man. Yeah, man, it's 10 o'clock at night, man. You driving your girlfriend home. Why? You are the money. Put her in Uber. You leaving here at 10, 11 o'clock, driving her home. She's safe. Then you got to drive. You are the bank. You should never leave your home at a certain time. It doesn't make sense. There's nothing out there. The worst cops in the world.
Waiting on you.
They log in at 10 p.m. They know that's when the shit happens. That's what they want. So the most aggressive minds are active at that time. They can't tell the difference between who you are when they pull you over. So don't even put yourselves in them situations.
See, I feel him there. But the thing is, he probably didn't want to put his girl in an Uber because you don't know who the Uber driver is or what type of person the Uber driver is. Because like he just said, the worst type of people be out at night. Now, as a parent, I understand what he's saying. You know, put her in an Uber, you stay home. You the money or whatever. But it's dangerous. Either way you look at it, it could have been real dangerous for her. But you know, his responsibility is to Elijah. So in this case, he was right. Just looking on his side of the story, just looking from his side of the story,
right? You know, so we have them talks, but you know, sometimes you know,
They don't
kids are all
register until
hard
real
headed,
shit hits.
and I'm like, you know, I said, hopefully one day the example that wakes you up doesn't hurt you physically, emotionally, enough where you can't succeed, right? So one thing that he wrote that kind of like made me tear up was when he got conscious, and you know he got the right, and he wrote, "Does my dad know?" Right? They're like, damn, you know what I mean? So you know, and then when you know they was like, "He's up, he's looking for you," because I was at home. And then, you know, he was like, well, where's my dad? And then when I came in and he gave me that I'm sorry look. And, you know, I'm like, just
Come
like,
on, bro.
you good.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. You know, it's you a lucky one. So, you know, when he seen the, you know, the flowers and stuff, and I'm like, man, you know, people don't get to see what the world, the whole neighborhood, people that I didn't even know in the neighborhood.
Right.
You know, they used to dropping flowers off into it. And I'm like, man, like, all these people. And then he wrote like, you know, I want to meet the people who saved me. You know, so it's one of them things that like now you just got to really tap into your ability because the whole world is praying for
It's
you.
over now. I mean, he's already a great kid. I mean,
And I said that's what
he's
saved you. I
such a
said
good kid,
being
down
a
to
good
earth, with
human.
just a good. You know, the funniest shit when the twins came home because they kept going to the hospital. Dad, you'll never guess. What happened? How's Elijah? He's doing better. Auntie Lala and Gil like sat by each other and they talked and they got along.
I was like, you know, it's kind of hard to hold the anger, bro. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, I still can't be petty around this. You know, but there's one thing I do. I'm gonna give her credit. And you know, it's so funny. He asked me, you know, what was it like? And I said, you know,
around his mom.
Yeah. And I said, the reason I left the hospital because I knew you was in good hands. There's one thing I do know.
Super family.
Is if one of the kids is fucked up, she is gonna become overly protective.
Yeah, Mama Bear.
Yeah, so I know this right here.
She got it.
You're good. I mean, you're gonna have warm blankets. If the spit gets on the blanket, you're gonna have a new blanket. You're gonna have food that you don't even supposed to have. You're gonna have a TV, air conditioner. She's gonna make sure cable. She's gonna do shit that she's gonna annoy the hell out of them people, right? So I'm good. I can
Right.
leave. You're good, dog. You know what I mean? I said, you know what? She did her job, man. You know, you can be proud. You know that when we go through things in life, we don't really know who's gonna be
Nah,
there.
you're right.
And I said, that's one person that you can say was by your side the whole time.
No doubt. I've been to a situation similar to that because um, I have a child and me and the mother didn't really get along at all. But when my child was in trouble, like when she had to go to the hospital, we actually sat and got along, and she made sure everything was okay with our kid, and it was the most we've gotten along in years. Just for our baby. Um, it's the longest I had even been around her because, like, in my situation, I saw my kid often, but I never really was around her mother like that because, like I said, we don't get along at all. So to come together like that, to be there for your son is something I think good parents do. You can easily put whatever differences you have to the side for your kid right quick. But that was the story. I'm glad Elijah is okay. You can, like I said, you can see this video on All the Smoke. I'll leave a link. You can see this video in its entirety on All the Smoke. I'll leave a link for it in the description box. And don't forget to subscribe here. I have all kinds of great content here that you guys can check out. This is your boy, the Sports Dr. Spock. I am out.